Flat Earth Social. Meet others on the same level.
Come and join the truth revolution.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get cracking with this thing. Bit of quiet, please. Oh, I've got to go over here. I won't be in the shot. Right, ladies and gentlemen, last month we left you. We had our 4th birthday. It was a great night, and we left you in the wonderful company of Martin Leaker. Good night was had by all. What has possibly happened in August? Let's have a little run through. Well, we start off with the August the 5th was the Falcon 9 pretend rocket crashed into the pretend moon. Did you all see that? Did you all see that? Nobody saw it, that's right. Apparently, though, it's left a 60-foot wide crater that no one can see either. Really good. Bit more serious now. About the 7th of this month, Pakistan, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia signed a deal. Because Turkey's going to get bombed soon by Israel, so it's all going to be good fun there. August the 10th, bit of an earthquake thing, poor things in Colombia. But did anybody see the old world buildings in that? They were shaking and none of them fell over. Unbelievable, very unbelievable. Okay, middle of the month we had the solar eclipse. Did you see that? Did you all use glasses or your naked eye? Did you do what the government told you? Did anybody see the moon coming, eclipsing, or leaving? Anyone? No, because it's not the moon. What can you do? Mid-August, also, this was one of the most annoying nights of my life. August the 14th. It was my mother-in-law's birthday. Is it? No, that's not why it was the most annoying night. No, that's not the reason. The reason was the UK emergency phone thing. Did you all get that? Obviously not, because none of us do that, right? We're not that stupid. Every single person in the pub was doing their phone, and to be fair, it wasn't a warning about missiles or impending doom. No, it was about barbecues. Whether your neighbour had a barbecue, and they were phoning the police because the neighbours were having a barbecue. Not even funny. Crazy, crazy world. Let's have a look. What else happened? Mid-August, Nigel Farage, 66% of the vote against the bloke dressed as a bin. What can you say? I could have probably won that. August 21st. What they're telling us now, sorry, going back a bit, there was something else. Wessex Water bought in the hosepipe ban for the first time since 1976 on the very day it pissed down. On the very day it pissed down. Later in August, the Met Office has issued a strong warning for this, a super El Nino, the worst ever. So expect autumn to be wintry, wet and cold. Right now. 22nd of August, did you see this? The Chinese robot that could run faster than Usain Bolt. It broke the record in 9.32 seconds, but they haven't taught man to stop yet. And it went straight into this industrial fan, and it was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. And it almost brings us up to date now with the 24th, which was yesterday. The UK Prime Minister, who nobody voted for, Andy, I'm so left, WEF, Burnham, went to Kiev with the little gay dancer guy, and he's given them blueprints for our shadow missiles. What could go wrong? Bloody hellfire. And lastly, today, just recently, I found out Dolly Parton's died. Sorry guys, sorry to bring that bad news to you. She will not be working her 9 to 5 shift tomorrow. That's very true, she's just passed away, yeah. She has honestly just passed away, Esther. I made a little joke of it, but she's okay, that really is it for our insane rundown. Couple of announcements we have next month. The Alex Michael Guru Gathering. Who's going? Hands up, please. There is loads, there's quite a few of us, that's really good. Really, really good. Alex, if you're watching, we've got about a dozen coming. We've also got all the light papers over there from our lovely Martin and Julie, so make sure you grab all of those on the way. Get tickets to Alex's do at conspiracymusic.com/events. I think the wraparound event is also within that ticket structure. Some more sad news. Tomorrow sees one of our own laid to rest. You all remember Sarah, Mary and Sarah. Sarah tragically lost her battle against cancer. If you'd like to go tomorrow, it's in Fontmell Magna near Compton Abbas. All the details are pinned up on the Telegram channel. God rest you, rest your soul, Sarah. I hope you're having a great time. Okay. What we got coming up before we get cracking? September, we have the wonderful Addy and Hitomi, who are right here today. They're going to preview their new book next month. Can't wait for that. Really, really looking forward to it. In October, we've got something pretty decent. We are not having a speaker. We've got the Ike Boys back. So we've got the iconic brand, and we're going to have the premiere of the documentary we've been doing, and that's going to be in October. So that's good. November, we've got Andrew Kaufman booked, only via internet. Then that'll be the end of it for the year. But in February, when we come back, I had some breakfast with Matt Letitia today, and he's going to come in February, and we're going to have a whole, we're just going to have a whole evening with Matt, chit-chatting about his life, and the fact that he's now a flat earther, which is amazing. So, okay, that's pretty much, that concludes it all, I think. Any more? I don't think so. But it does bring me back, really, to tonight's guest, because that's what it's all about. It's all about tonight. Now, I first knew Steve. I first saw his work in about 2018 when he was with the Space Busters channel, putting out some amazing, amazing work. He's also done an entire assassination of Jeren and the Scamtarctica, which is fantastic, and he has one of the best voices in the industry. He's also attending the Guru Gathering next month, so you get to have a chance to meet him. So for now, can you please give a big Flat Earth Social welcome, live from Denmark, for the wonderful Steve Falconer!
Hi, Ian. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me all right? Oh, look at this.
We're just going to make sure we can hear you.
Can you hear me all right?
We can hear you good enough, mate. Don't worry. Get right next to that microphone.
Well, I'm trying to get in. Hold on. All right. I'm in. Yeah. Well, I'm going to raise a glass. You're having a social, so I'm having a little cognac. So
excellent, Steve. Fantastic. Steve, why don't you tell our wonderful audience a little bit about yourself, and please, the floor is yours, my friend.
Well, I'm just like each and every one of you. I'm just a guy. I'm an American. I've been living in Copenhagen. I'm a musician for a living. I started to wake up, throughout my life, but around 2004, 5, 6, I was like everybody going, what the hell is going on here? This, just like with the earth shape. I started doing some very deep research into all different kinds of topics. I started making films on Space Busters. I was writing articles under Truth Serum News, doing all kinds of things. I became a political commentator during COVID and all that shit. That's probably where most people know me from. And tonight, I'm going to present to you 20-some years of research into what I think is going on in this world. And I would love you all, just like we all do, to not believe a word I say, but to just hear my story and then look into it further and make up your own mind. And it's an honor and a privilege to be invited. Thank you.
Ah, thank you, Steve. Thank you. Yeah. Steve, listen, my friend. I'm just going to do the thing, Steve, where you can share the screen, and please do your stuff, my brother. Is that good?
Yeah, I can't see. Do you want me to share now and go or what?
I think so, mate, if you're ready.
Okay, here we go. Hold on. Boom, boom, boom. All right, can you see my messy desktop for a
Yeah. we can see your messy desktop, man. Jesus, that's some therapy needed there.
I'm a Virgo, and people think we're all like really neat and tidy, but really. Um, so I'm calling this talk to You World Order, Blinded by the Light. And what we're going to be talking about is nuance and duality. A lot of people think that we're going to be talking about Luciferianism quite a lot, and what I call the cult of Venus, which I got from Michael Tessarian in my research. Lucifer just means light. So what I say to people is, you can shine a flashlight into a kitchen and the cockroaches will scatter. That's a good use for light. You can shine the same flashlight into somebody's eyes and blind them, right? So what we're talking about is the nature of the realm we live in always has a duality. There's a positive and a negative. The religions, the control factions, they're trying to tell us that everything is either all good or all bad, or it's this or that. And that's not really it. So the reason I'm calling this talk that is because we're really, whether they get away with this new world order or not, right? They can do all they want, and they've been doing all they want, and we'll get into who they are, in my opinion, and in the future. But we hold this up. And so what they've been doing is blinding us so that we can't see what's going on. They have us blaming the wrong people. They have been lying about history, just like the shape of the earth. They have been mind controlling us since we were little kids, so that we believe a narrative and that we go along with the narrative. So I'm just going to go through this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through a story, through all of my research and all, I'll give the references later. This is what I think has been going on. We're all told that civilization came out of Africa and spread to the rest of the world. Yet all of the ancient tribes, you've probably all seen this, they claim that these white, red-haired, curly, blue-eyed giant people came around and taught them all religion, sun worship, law, art, on and on and on it goes. And there are a lot of people, including like Connor McDarry, quite a lot of authors, Commons Beaumont we'll get into, Anna Wilkes. They are proposing that there was a civilization out of the British Isles, which used to be called Eire, or just the West, before it was Britain. And they were a Druidic culture, and they were benevolent. And their name was the priests of Yesa Krios, or Kriost. Now, we all recognize that from the modern Bible as Jesus Christ, right? And now, back in the old days, the common Irish people spoke what you'd call Irish, but they used to call it Gaelega, not Gaelic, or Naga, or we just call it Old Irish. The only surviving languages today that are even close to it are Welsh. Do we have any Welsh people in the audience?
Oh, yeah, we've got Welsh people, Steve.
Right. Manx from the Isle of Man, which is kind of a mix between Welsh and Gaelega and Gaelic and Chaldean Arabic. So Chaldean or Chaldean Arabic is not modern Arabic. Modern Arabic is very new. There are still Arab people in their 80s, 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s. They can't speak it. So Yesa Krios was not a person. It was their religion of sun worship and God's spirit incarnated into the flesh. And it comes from a hybrid of the old Irish words, is or yes, meaning spirit, essa, meaning seed fluid, and krios, meaning the cross, band, circle, and name of the zodiacal sun. So it means the spirit of God in the sun and its lower human aspect as the divine spark or spirit in the essence of man, the savior and light of the world. Another name for this religion was called the Way. So in the modern Bible version of this mythology, Jesus says, I am the light of the world. I am the way, right?
Yeah.
So he is a personification of this religion. So the Irish Gnostic priests of Jesu Christos, the Son and Spirit, and the descent of Spirit into the body of man was a religion, not a man. Now you have to remember the letter J doesn't exist in our languages. It's not in Hebrew. It turns up in 1523 or 4, if you believe mainstream timelines, which I don't. So some of the old names for the light or the savior or light of the world or the spirit of God incarnated in man in Irish are on the left. Yesa, Yes, Hesio, Hezig, Krios, Bel, Buell, right? And the myth makers have been rewriting this as new mythology with Zeus, Jesus, Christ, Dias, Dias, Baal, Ebalis, Saint Paul. So we all just celebrated the sun, the Beltane, right? We all just celebrated the Beltane. That's Baal. The church is trying to tell you that Baal is a demon that the ancients worshipped and were sacrificing children to. It's just an old Irish name for the sun that's being hidden. So I'm not, what I'm going to show you right now is not me claiming that this is what happens, right? Just to be clear, this is the religion they were teaching. They taught that man, people, us, reincarnate into the physical for around 1,000 years until we reach 7 perfected incarnations, finally free from lower physical animal desires, emotions, and sexual pleasure, and the need to regenerate physically. This is kind of where we get all the 7 chakras and the 7 life stages of astrology. We get the 7 over and over again. These are carryovers from this old religion. So, you know, we've all noticed, right, in the Bible, you say, how come these people live to 1,000 or 900 or 700, right? We've all like, did they used to live that long? But when you start to add their ages or their genealogies or the stories or the patriarchies, and you start to see it always adds up to just 1,000, just under, just over. And there's a book called The Bible, an Irish book by Connor McDarry Jr. and Sr. that gets into this in absolute detail. So that's why when you see things like here on the bottom, you see the alleged genealogy of Jesus Christ. And if you are a Christian, again, bear with me, right? Don't believe me. I'm just telling you where this comes from. They always stop at 7, as you'll see on both sides. Now, on the right, it stops at David because Mary allegedly has a divine immaculate conception of Jesus, which is the perfected spirit in man, or the Christ consciousness, or the soul or body. So there is no like physical patriarchy. And then Joseph stops because he's not Jesus's real dad, he's a stepdad. So that would make David the last. But what they're doing is they're showing you the coding of this ancient religion of 7 perfected incarnations, liberating yourself from the lower carnal desires until you get this Christed body and consciousness and don't have to come back here again, according to them. Hang on. All right. So this is from Michael Tessarian. So one of the personifications of the sun and the light in the Druidic culture was called Jesu Christos, and here he is with his crown. In the Druidic cultures, he always had a rose thorn around his head, not thorns like we see in the Bible, but roses. And he had a lot of different spellings as they took this religion around the world. Isa, Asa, Yesa, Hesu. You can see it. Now, if you see a J, Jesse, Jeshua, that means that those mythologies came after the J was introduced. But it's still an archetype. It's a patriarch for the God of light and later he was made the god of nature. And one name was Herne, where we get Hermes. One name was Cernuno, CERN, right? That's where they're naming CERN after. So he's sometimes shown as the nature god with a stag in the crown of stag horns, which is coming from this. Hold on, here we go. So we're going to get into what is a modern Jew versus what is an ancient Hebrew or Israelite, because there's a lot of confusion and people saying the Jews run the world and it's been since here, the Jews run this and that. So a Hebrew or a Jew or a Yud, the Hebrews were these ancient Gnostic priests of Yesa Krios, the fire, the sun worship. A Yud or a Jew were the followers of this. So they were not a Semitic race of people. You could be black, white, Chinese, Asian. You could be in any continent. You could be any color. And the name Eber is from an Irish compound word meaning Ea, fire, the sun, which Ea is Enki's name in the Sumerian tablets, right? And then they tell us the Phoenicians or the Phoenicians were the sea people who came around from the east and were conquering all the west, but it really is them hiding that they were the Irish Phoenicians, which are these people, which comes from the Irish Finn, or spelled Fionn, meaning the sun. So a Jew, what we call today with a J, was a Yud or a Yud, which is Irish for the day, the light, followers of the light. That's where we get the month July, where the sun's at its highest in the north, and Julius Caesar. So Yule means the highest power, dignity of the sun, learning, knowledge. And then these priests didn't call themselves this. They called themselves the Ebra on the bottom left, or Aeon. So that was their name. So that's where we're getting the Hebrews from the Ebra. That's them. Why is all right? So Godfrey Higgins had a book, Anacalypsis. He pointed out that the Irish language, I'm not talking about Gaelic right now, I'm talking about the old Gaelga or Irish, is the oldest language which is known, and next was Chaldean Arabic or Chaldee. And he talked about a Bible society in 1827 that came around to the small villages in Ireland, and they were passing out Bibles in English or Hebrew. And they wanted the Hebrew Bible because they could understand the Bible better than English. And the reason is here, I have English, Irish, the original Irish, Chaldean Arabic or Chaldean Hebrew, and you will see that the language is nearly the same. Father in English is Ab or Abba in Irish. It's Abba in Chaldean. It's Ab in Arabic and Hebrew. Mother is Am or Ma'am in Welsh. Yes, ma'am. So on down the line, you'll see this. And you'll notice that in ancient Chaldean Arabic, the glyphs to Hebrew are literally identical all the way through. So this is what he's talking about. This is why they wanted the Bible in Hebrew, because you can see the words are literally closer to Irish than they are to English, so they could understand. The American Indians, they had a master language that all the tribes from coast to coast, with the exception of two, could understand. And it was called Algonquin, this language, which is two Irish words, meaning Algon and Hein, meaning noble and family. Hubert Bancroft, he had a book, Native Races. He talked about an Indian chief who said that his tribe taught the children Welsh, which is modern, the closest Irish surviving language, until they were 11 years old. They didn't even learn their native tongue. Then we're told about the ancient Israelites of the Florida Everglades, called the Seminoles. When they found them, they were wearing their hair purposely curled like Jew locks, like the people who came, and they were speaking a very ancient form of Hebrew. So you have to ask, where did they learn that? And Florida is on the east coast of the United States, facing the British Isles in Ireland. Here are some Irish names of the sun gods impersonated, and here are native sun god names in Mexico. Cuculan, Cucucan in the Mayan, Telac, Tlaloc in Mexico, Chacmiol. So you have to ask, how is it possible that the Mexican sun gods of the natives have identical names to the Irish? Where did they get it? The Norse gods are also Irish. I'm not going to stick around on this a lot. I'll send you the slides if you want it.
Steve,
But
just while you're there, are you telling me that the Phoenicians, who we thought went by the sea from another place to spread their knowledge, came from Ireland?
well, yeah, and when I'm talking right now about Ireland, I'm talking about the entire British Isles before it was Albion and then later Britain, right? So the Irish who are on the island of Ireland right now, we're talking about the whole British Isles, parts of Scandinavia and southern Russia were just called the West. So Erie or Irie, as the Jamaicans call it, just means West. So yeah, what they're telling us are the Phoenicians, who they say came from the east of the Mediterranean, right, where modern Israel and all it is. They don't even have trees there. Like to this day, there's no trees or anything. They could not have built giant fleets of naval ships and all that stuff. It came from the West, and they're hiding and lying about this so that we don't know that what they call Atlantis is the British Isles, Scandinavia, southwestern Russia, right? Civilization did not come from Africa or the East later. It came from the British Isles and even the Scandinavian gods. Now, I just had Mike Wilkerson and Dr. Steve Young here for a week. We went all around Scandinavia. We're supposed to have Thor, Odin, Loki, right? Freya, the giant ice giants of the north. We took pictures of 25 pictures of buildings and statues all over Copenhagen of Hermes, Trismegistus with a Caduceus and Poseidon. But those are supposed to be Greek gods from 2,000 miles away, and they're all over all of our buildings still. So you have to ask, why don't we have Scandinavian Norse gods all over the building? And that's because they're hiding this. Now, Bo is where we get the Pope. So when you hear about the Scandinavian gods, Odin, Wodan, Wotan, that comes from the Irish Votan or Bo, meaning fire or light, the sun. And then Din, Dan, Tan, the tribe of Dan, as they call it, means the little or low sun. So their Pope was called the little sun, and the sun was called the big one. That's where we get the word Pope from to this day. And then here, so people ask, why are there blue-eyed natives in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iran, India? Where did these red-haired mummies come from in China who are called the Tarim? And the capital of the Druidic culture in Ireland was at Tara Hill, the Tarim. Now, maybe this is what people are trying to call Tartaria, but that comes later. In Egypt, there are statues of blue-eyed rulers, Sumer blue-eyed. The Mandan Sioux, when they found them, a lot of them had like light skin, blue eyes, and blonde hair. And they were living in cobblestone huts, which are not teepees and stuff. They're identical to what the Irish and English have been living in. There's also wolf personifications for the sun in Irish. So Hercules, this is not Greek and Roman and all this. These are Irish compound words for the sun. So all of these mythologies, all of these religious stories, they are talking about the sun, the stars, the constellations. We're going to run out of time, like if I go forever, but if you want, take a picture of this or I'll send you this. Osiris and Horus is not Egyptian. So Osiris is a compound word from Os, meaning high, Sor, meaning like Sersha, meaning sir, meaning the east and morning sun. And Horus is from or aspirated to Hor, the Lord and Savior. So one is the morning sun, one is the day sun, which is Ra, one is the evening sun. And then they also have a lot of wolf personifications like Molchu. So, there's a lot of people with the Mandela effect. They used to say the lion will lay with the lamb, and now they're saying the wolf will lay with the lamb. But the lion and the wolf are the same. So they tell us Rome was founded by Romulus and Remus, right? These two twin brothers get put in a reed basket. They get found by a female wolf, who's a giant wolf, who suckles them back to health, and then they go on to find Rome. But what the myth makers do is they put the names backwards so that you don't see it. So Romulus backwards is Sulamore, which is Irish for the great light, the sun. Remus backwards is Sumer for summer. Sumeria is Irish for Somra, summer. And then Syracuse, Sicily is the Easterners of the sun. So the Syracuse Indians in the United States were on the northeastern side of there. So the Irish called them the Syracuse, the Easterners, right? Same with Syracuse, Sicily. And then we always see this in Egyptian steles. We see like brown people, white people, black people, total white people. But then for some reason, there's these red people, and the gods are drawn in red. Now, red was an ancient form of sunscreen that came from red ochre. So if people have maybe heard of the red ochre people in the Northeast, they dug up these Indian graves that had jars of red ochre in it. Well, this is what white people, you've all seen like Brits and Irish on vacation, right? And you know what I mean? Like you see British go down to Majorca and shit. They don't fucking do very good in the sun. So it would make sense that they were using red ochre. That might be what this is coming from. So another thing they were hiding from us is hieroglyphics are not Egyptian. They are ancient Druidic, Welsh, and Irish chimeroglyphics, and the Welsh can still learn to read this today. People, have anyone heard about this?
No.
Okay. So these are symbols, they're not words or letters. So what they've been doing is they've been making up characters or places like Ptolemy, Cleopatra, Alexander the Great, but they aren't. These aren't letters like that. I'm not going to get into this. It's in my film in part 1 of Apocalypse Infinity. These are, each of these glyphs is it's like a word, right? It's not a letter. So they're literally putting letters together to make up fake characters, because what these glyphs are really talking about are spiritual aspects and stories. And we can't get into it now. I could do 2 hours on that. But this is why we wonder, Khan or Khonsu, the Egyptian god of the moon on the left, he's an American falcon, indigenous to the Americas only. He doesn't exist in Egypt. So but yet his head is on this Egyptian god. On the right, Anubis is a pharaoh hound imported to Malta, never found in Egypt. He's not a Saluki, right? He's got a very pointy nose. Salukis have a round nose and saggy ears. So what is he doing on a god, right? So what they've been doing, and this is from the works of David Ewing Jr., they have been building shit in the Middle East over the last 150 to 200 years. They've been building fake temples and shit to make it look like their story is true, that civilization came out of Egypt and Africa. And we'll get into it. Commons Beaumont, Anna Wilkes proved that it can't possibly be there. So here's the Temple of Luxor in Egypt. Has anyone ever been there before? Anyone been there? No. There it is. Here, there it is on the left. Here's a photo of it on the right in 1890. There's nothing there. There's this little brown thing. It's Steve, not there.
I just want to interject there. Sorry, everyone. The Temple of Abu Simbel, is that right? And they moved the entire temple, they said, in the 50s. They were just building it, weren't they?
They've been building this one since 1890, yeah. So, people have seen that glyph in I can't remember which one it was. There were like helicopters and what looks like spaceships and shit on the glyphs. And they're like, oh, the ancients had spaceships and helicopters and land cruisers. They're drawing the shit on later because these weren't around. My apartment building's older than the Temple of Luxor, which is supposed to be 3,000 years old. So here's more pictures of them building it. You can see the train tracks on the bottom left where they're bringing the stuff in. You can see it's not built yet, right? And then on the right, you can see in 1930, it's only half built compared to this on the left. See on the left here? It's got like 3 levels, 4. You can see by the top mountains, it's very distinct. There's like this little jagged finger that looks like fuck you, and then these 3 things on the right. So you can see we're in the right place. The mountains match, right? But here we are. There's the fuck you on the right, the finger, but it's not there yet. They're not even done with it. So here's the Temple of Karnak, the Temple of Amun. There's metal rebar sticking up out of all the blocks all over. But rebar is a modern invention, and the reason you use rebar is to hold blocks in place, right? So if they try to say, well, the temple collapsed in some catastrophe or whatever, the bars would be bent. Do you see what I'm saying? If rocks fell off this at full force, the bars would be gone with them. They'd be bent down. So clearly they're building this. Clearly. Now here's another photo from that. On the left, you can see the street level on the left picture, right? Where the railroad tracks, where they're bringing stuff in. Then you have all these statues on the bottom left, but they're 10, 15 feet below the 4 on the right. Can you guys see my mouse? Or
Yeah.
Okay, right. Oh, sorry, I got to go back. So these are 10, 15 feet below. Here, there's only 3, and then a 4th one being built. Now here, they're trying to tell us this is the temple now. Suddenly, they're all on the same level. And on the right, there's 12 of them or 13, right? You're like, well, wait, what? And the road's built out. And they're trying to tell us that is the original temple, which then how is this picture on the left possible? They're not on the same level. They're building it, right? So here's the temple of Nimrud in Iraq, which the ISIS militants destroyed in 2015. And the temple of Nebu, they called it. They say it's 3,000 years old. And it's the Assyrian god of wisdom's temple in Iraq. But you can see there's modern rebar and concrete sticking out of the rubble. So how is that 3,000 years old? It's not even rusted. There's no concrete back then or metal rebar, right? So they're clearly building all this stuff. Then if you get into Anatoly Fomenko, you find out that they're lying about all of the timelines and all of their relatives, right? Donald Trump says, I'm related to Charlemagne, and he started the Roman Empire, and Constantine the Great started Christianity. But as Fomenko pointed out, here are timelines with a graph showing all their ancestors, and not ancestors, but like the next kings, right? In procession of rulers. But these two are 400, 300 and something years apart, Charlemagne and Constantine. But you see their ancestors, the successors totally match. And this goes down 3 more. I only took 1 screenshot. This goes down 3 more levels. And then they do the same here. The Russian Horde Empire matches the Habsburg Empire at the same time. See that? Both are 1276. And this goes down 3 more. Then the Holy Roman Empire, allegedly, and the Kingdom of Judah in the Bible, total, one's 931 BC and one's 919 AD. And they also totally match and go all the way down. The Byzantine Empire in England, you see, no matter where you go in history or when, and no matter how far apart, it's like they're rewriting this same story, right? And you have to ask, well, how is this possible? How is this even remotely possible? They even did it with the kings of Sweden and the kings of Navarro, Spain, who are 800 years apart. And because you could say, okay, well, if they're at the same time, like different political allegiances could make different people get in power at the same time, but that can't happen 800 years apart, right? So Egypt is not a historical place. It's an Irish word, and it comes from the Irish Egypt, which means the flesh or sex, the mother principle or spirit birthed into the body. And on the left are the Irish words it comes from, right? The flesh, the body, web, womb. So the sun was said to go down in the west in a cave in the ocean to its daily death. As is said, the spirit of man descends into the cave of the body at birth, where it is said to be dead. So it's said in their old religion that the body or physical incarnation is our death of spirit. And then we get these bodily desires, what you'll call the lower chakras, right? They run rampant in the wake, and our spiritual ones become dormant. Their science, or what they were teaching, was that we are supposed to overcome this, which is in all of Buddhism. You know, you go on and on and on. Like, this teaching is in there. So Egypt and the pharaohs were told that these pharaohs are real people, right? But what they are is Irish lore in the Bible. So Pharaoh comes from these Irish words on the left, meaning man, far, which is the Danish name for father, road, ride, a sensual man, two sexes, spirit. We're told King Menes, the original Pharaoh of Egypt, digs the River Nile, but Mene comes from the Irish Mene, or May, meaning May, month, monthly, like the mother's period. And Nile means the fluid or blood in the body, right? Same with King Potiphar. I won't get in it, but that's an Irish hybrid word. And then we're told that Enoch, Hermes, Thoth, Enki, Moses are all like the same person, Enoch. But see, Enoch's not a guy's name. It's an Irish name, Eni, meaning wise, sage, enlightened. And Maos comes from saturate. So the book of Enoch is not like the historical story of a guy called Enoch. It's the teachings of these druids. Same thing with historians say, we don't know who these mysterious Hyksos are on the bottom right, the shepherd kings who invaded Egypt from the sea, right? But in Irish, Hyksos is spelled Tixos on the left, which means upper house, Magian priest, spiritual shepherd. So it's in the name, like they're telling you. Now, what they've done is the original Irish language. There's only 2% of Irish who can still speak it. They have genocided, killed, murdered, sent off in the Irish slave trades, the indentured servants, right? And also the Scottish Highland genocides. There's not anyone can speak this language, and that's because the reason they want to get rid of people who can speak Irish is if they start reading the Bible and start reading history, they'll understand that these are not the names of people, but they are hybrid Irish words that start talking about a spiritual science. Now, Commons Beaumont, he was a Bible literalist, but he and Anna Wilkes and Connor McDarry and others showed that none of this shit could have happened in the Middle East. And it's pretty interesting that he put Persia as southern Russia, because Russia sounds like Prussia and Russia, right? Persia. So even if you want to take Bible stories literally, it can have happened. They're saying it happened in the British Isles. Now, I don't think it did, but I do think that if there was a historical Egypt, I think it was the British Isles. And I put that in my film. Some of the reasons why you could think so is, like I said, Chaldean Arabic, the ancient Arabic, it is an old version of Hebrew, ancient Hebrew, which is the priest language of these priests of Yesa Krios, which is not Irish. The common people spoke Irish, the priests spoke Hebrew and Arabic, just like we speak our language and our priests speak Latin. And they found like these coins in Britain, England, they say 7 to 796 AD from the British king, Offa, but it's got Chaldean Arabic writing on it. Here's the helmet of Tsar Mikhailovich of Russia in the Kremlin. He's a Christian king. He's got Arabic writing on his helmet, his sword, and also a lot of clothes and other artifacts. They found thousands of these coins in Scandinavia with Arabic writing, but the Arabs allegedly never made it. They never made it any farther north than what we're calling modern day France. They were allegedly stopped in Spain and stopped in Caesarea. So you have to ask, what is all of this doing up there? Here's Saint Louis or St. Louis, like the city's named after in the Louvre. You can see the ring around his head has Chaldean Arabic writing on it. He's a Christian saint. Here's Mary, right? There's baby Jesus, spirit incarnated into man. What is Chaldean Arabic doing around the head on a painting of Virgin Mary? Right? So, what I'm showing is long before there was Rome, Greece, Egypt in our history books, these Ebra or Hebrew priests, they ruled the world from Tara Hill in ancient Erie or Erie, now called Ireland. Their pope was called Boban, meaning Papa, right? The small son, father of Pope, as I talked about. And the Old Testament is talking about him as Jeremiah, which is from the Irish word air, meaning the West, and Ireland, the seat of the Pope. Isaiah from Is, the spirit and creative son. Malachi, you can see this later, right? Even the Old Testament and New Testament, even in Latin, they're telling you testa means body and ment comes from mentis or mind. So they're even telling you in the word testament that the biblical stories are allegories for a spiritual and a physical science of the mind, the body, the stars, physiology, right? Astrotheology. They're hiding it in plain sight. And they don't, the Druidic popes, before they were genocided, they never abdicated to the Roman Catholic popes. They were killed. So as I'll get into, these Scythian Setian Atonists, which we'll get into what that is, Roman Catholic Church, Church of England, they've stolen and perverted this Hyksos Omnus science to create and manipulate Jewish and Christian literalists who take the Bible stories literally and the prophecies to start doing their bidding for world domination and control to make the new world order. Have you guys ever noticed that people say it seems like the Bible prophecies are coming true? Have you ever noticed that? It is because they're doing it on purpose, because that makes all of these people who take it literally think it's happening. And then each of their religions starts to program them to go along with it. So from the Irish Chronicles and several sources, Michael Tessarian gets into this a lot in 1,600 pages of his Irish origins of civilization. The claim is that how this all starts is with the pharaoh Akhenaten. You've all seen like Barack Obama allegedly looks like Akhenaten, right? They claim that this guy Akhenaten was in Egypt, that we're calling Egypt now, in the Middle East, and he's fighting with all his rivals, and somehow he gets these Scythians or these sort of warrior druids to come and then fight his fight for him, and they win. And then he makes them all kings, Pharisees. He gives them money, land, wives. That he gives them all the shit for what they did for him. But then Akhenaten gets kicked out of the country along with most of them in 17 years. So the people totally hate him because, as I get into in the films, he was the first guy to tell them you can't all worship any. They all had multiple gods and religions. Like Egypt was allegedly totally cool. You worship who you want, when you want, private. Then he made them all say, nope, you're going to worship my God, Aten, a sun god, but it's really Lucifer or Set. So, and then they throw him out. So as the story goes in the Irish Annals, Irish Chronicles, and a lot of others, they all try to go back to Ireland, but the Druids there have heard what they've done and won't have them. They tell them, no way, you're not coming back here. You guys are evil. So they start to go to other places and set up what they want, which is a new world order and domination. And what they do is they end up going to Eastern Spain. They end up going to what's now Essex, right? Southwest England, Northeast England, and Scotland. So Akhenaten's daughter is Meritaten or Scota. Scotland is named after Scotia, his daughter. So that's why the British Isles to this day are so ensconced in this empire, because Britain means the chosen people, right? Yeah. Did you have a question, or were you?
No, just cheering the.
All right, yeah.
We're the chosen people. We thought it was Jews, but
Yeah, well, you are, yeah. And yeah. And by the way, when I'm talking about ancient Britain or Ireland, the British Isles, people left there during cataclysm things. So it's not like a British pride or an Irish pride, because the people populating there now are not these druids who were there before. Like, it's different people. But anyway, so like historians are calling them Scythians or Scythians. That's these druids who go rogue, who are warriors and help Akhenaten allegedly. But they didn't call themselves that, right? So Scythe comes from the Irish arrow, because they allegedly were horseback bull riders. But they called themselves the Saga or Saga, which means stag, druid, sage. And the historians are trying to tell us that they came from the east in the top right, or either one, to the west, and were stopped by the Goths, the Germans, right? But really, they really come, I believe it's correct. They came from the British Isles east and were taking over that. And obviously the Germans and Goths would be right in the middle of that. So I believe that they were stopped there. And I get into this in massive detail, right? In parts 1 and 2 of my film series. So everyone's saying the modern Jews are in charge of the world. And here's where people have any of you seen my films? Part 1 or 2 of Apocalypse Infinity?
just a few of us, yeah.
Okay. I'm telling people that the Jews don't run the world, the modern Jews, right? But they are involved, and this is where people aren't getting it. Every demographic of people has like 80% cool people and 20% scumbag douchebags, right? Christians have them, Jews have them, Muslims have them, black people have them, white, everybody. What these elites are doing is they're putting Jews, only Jews on purpose, into public positions of power. You can't deny it. Hollywood, government, right? There's Israeli, there's Jew. But they're doing it on purpose so they can hide behind all this. And they want us to blame also the 80% of cool Jews who have nothing to do with any of this on them. But the Jews they're putting in the public are not in charge. They're there as a scapegoat and to blame. Like, if you rob a bank, you have to blame it on someone, right? So you have to put someone else who looks like the scapegoat. So look on the New World Orders on the dollar bill. It's in Latin. But the Jews speak Hebrew and Yiddish. So why would they write it in the Roman Catholic priest language? Right? We're on the Roman Catholic calendar, the Gregorian calendar, not the Jewish calendar. All the scripted world events are done by gematria to the current popes and Jesuit general on our Roman Catholic calendar, not the Jews. Kabbalah is not modern Jewish, as people are saying it. It means spirit into body, Kaaba, and La is the day in Irish. And gematria and Freemasonry is also not Jewish mysticism. It's ancient Druidic mysticism, and the ancient Yudes were following this, and the Ebers or Hebrews were these priests, right? So what they're doing is they're trying to get all the religions that they're creating to take this all as historical instead of Irish hybrid words, take it literal, and then they're making the prophecies look to come true so that the people will have these fights that all of their religions teach them. And then they're going to wipe each other out and bring in this new world order. For example, the Jews believe that their Messiah can't come back until they sacrifice a red heifer cow, right? Then, after they do that, they have to tear down the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. And then the real Temple of Solomon, which is an allegory, is below that. And then after that, their new Messiah can come. Well, of course, the Dome of the Rock isn't a Muslim holy site. So it's going to kick off a jihad and a war. And, I'm going to keep going because we're getting long, but the red heifer is an allegory. It's an allegory for wisdom, love, and the soul nature that we lose when we come, as I talked about earlier, when we come from spirit into physical, we forget that we are God's spirit and pure love. And our job here is to get rid of the lower nature. In other words, sacrifice to become higher. And, again, Solomon's temple is the temple of the soul of man, the sun and the moon. Your temples are between your head. So you can kill a red cow and you can knock down the Dome of the Rock. It's not going to bring a Messiah because it's allegory for you. But the Christians can't have Jesus come back until the Jews do this and get their world order, right? So this is what's going on. Now, the Star of David is the sign of the ether, and David is actually a symbol of the mind and its lower evolutional aspect. So it's lower people. And in the Egyptian, David meant like the commander, like the Pharaoh, yes, sir, yes, David. So it's the Star of David is not Jewish. It has nothing to do with Jewish. They stick it on the flag of Israel, which I think I got a slide for that. They're sticking it there on purpose. Now, the Christians think that once all that happens, Jesus, who got easily nailed up on a cross by a bunch of Roman centurions, now he's going to come back with a flaming sword out of his mouth, riding Pegasus with an army of angels and take on NATO. And then there's going to be 1,000 years of peace, right? That's what they think. That's exactly what they think. I don't know if I think you should watch the film. I don't want to dally on all this, but let's just start with this. So these people think they are the literal descendants of the children of Abraham, right? Or the children of Lot or whatever. But this is one of the things that they've done. They've taken out the knowledge of the Irish language because the name Abraham is an Irish compound word from Ab, meaning father or the sun, Ra, meaning the moving or rotating, revolving sun in the day, and Am as time. It's a name for the sun, right? And he's from the land of Ur. Abraham comes from Ur, which is Irish word for the sun, the fire, the east, where the sun rises, the heaven, the sky, fresh, green, blah, blah, blah. And Ur is in Chaldea, which comes from the Irish call, a veil, secret, hidden, the night, the great unseen. So a Chaldee was an Irish aesthetic worshiper of this religion, right? So Abraham has two consorts. He's married to Sarah, which comes from the Irish sorch or cirque or sark, meaning delight, pleasure, the day. And then he's got a lover, a concubine, Hagar. And I've showed you here how they have changed the name to be Achor. She's just the night. So the story of Abraham, Sarah, and his lover Hagar, Achor, is the story of the sun going away in the day, and then he's off with his lover at the night when you can't see it. And then the night, Hagar bears him a son, Ishmael, which comes from the Irish words Ismol, meaning the bald sun. In other words, in the morning when the sun comes up, it's not bright and radiant, right? So the night, his lover gives him the morning sun. And on it goes. Adam and Eve, I'm not going to get into this. You can get my slideshow and watch the film because I get into all this. These are not historical people. They are compound words, and they're compound Irish words that are talking about us people. They're not words. They mean father and mother, and I'm not even going to get into this, but you can see this here. And the Garden of Eden is not a place. The Garden of Eden is from the Irish Eden, which means love, tenderness, generosity, charity, forbearing. The tree is the phallic tree or organ of generation. And all the four rivers that allegedly are coming out of the center of the Garden of Eden are the four alimentary fluid canals in the human body, which you can see here. I'll just move on. The same goes with the children of Adam and Eve. When you start looking at Cain and Abel, and then Seth, Cain is the human body from Ka, the house. Abel is the soul from the Irish Abel, a spark, burning coal. Seth is the spirit. So this is the triune nature of man: body, soul, spirit, right? And they all come from Irish words. So they're not actual real people. When Cain slays Abel in the Bible, it's the same story I'm talking about. You start going with your lower animal desires in nature, which is what the body wants: sex, money, power, wealth, food, right? And it slays Abel, your higher nature or soul. And then Cain gets banished because of what he did. In other words, if you get rid of your spiritual higher self and trade that in for just bodily satanic pleasure and delight, you have ruined your spirituality. And what happens? Cain finds the punishment so unbearable, his banishment, that he pleads God, like, oh, please, please. And that's what this is about. Then Seth is the spirit, right, which comes from the Irish word Seth and say, which is wisdom. And then Seth begets a son, Enos, from the Irish Ain, the son, representing the son man or perfected body. As I talked about earlier, after 1,000 years, they said you'd have 7 incarnations where you are more like Abel instead of Cain. And then you don't need to come back and you become Seth. So it's the same story keeps repeating. Noah's Ark, right? Here's one. Noah is from the Irish 9, as in the months in a mother's womb, when the spirit ego descends into flesh. And then the generative form is a sailor, Nora. See on the top, right? A sailor. So you got Noah's Ark, the sailor. And the ark is the body, the pig, and then it's all of these animals. And in the myth, the ark is the mother's body and womb that carries the spirit for 9 months, Noah. Then he has
is that why we're taught that he bought all the two of everything, like the lizard, he bought all the animals? Is that
he's got,
of that?
Right, yeah. I just saw a picture of all the animals getting on Noah's Ark, and there's 2 male lions. Like, explain that one. Then they land on Mount Ararat, right? They say it's all flooded. It's like the highest point and it's totally barren. You're like, what did they eat and live on when they landed? There's nothing up there. So the same story, right, of the body, soul, and spirit, like Cain, Abel, and Seth, it's also in Noah. So Noah's son Ham is Irish for the hips, and it represents Africa, the body, or our lower central nature of man, right? So that's Cain is Ham. And in Africa comes from the Irish words afir, a man, which I showed you before, far, and fraka. So the word afir is man, right? Consistent in the sensual body. Shem is from the Irish Samuel, and Shemos, meaning the sun, and Asia, which is an Irish word, akalasia, meaning the navel, the soul, a region of passionate nature. And then, of course, you have the spirit, which is Yafet, because there is no J until 1523. So they've added that in the myth. They've added that in the myth to have Yah, Jave, Jehovah, right? Japhet. And then he represents Europe, which is from the Irish word Europe, OIRP, meaning the east, the sun, the highest, the head, the spirit or nature of man. So they tell us that Noah's literal 3 sons somehow go off to seed Africa, Asia, and Europe, right? You're like, well, who'd you have sex with? If you 3 got off the boat, you're like, who did you bang? God wiped out the whole world. Then who did you seed it with, right? And of course, it's the same allegory you just keep seeing coming through. Same with Lot, right? So I won't get into it. You can take this, but Lot's daughter, the Moabites, right? The Moabites and the Ammonites, we're told they're historical people. They're not. They too are Irish hybrid words for the higher self and the lower self, right? Ben-ami is the I am bad, naughty, the man slave, sensual, a slave to his lower nature. And then his descendants are the Ammonites, meaning bad, naughty, and trick device, right? And then you've got the Moabites on the other side, who are also Irish compound words for people engrossed in the lower carnal animal nature. So you have this story, we're told, that the Moabites and the Ammonites have been fighting the Israelites for 4,000 years, right? We've all heard the Arabs and the Jews are at each other's throats for 4,000 years, but they're not real people, right? So we're told the Moabites think they are descendants of Abraham on the left. See that? But Abraham is the son, and so is Sarah, right? And Hagar. You cannot be the descendants of the son any more than Shrek and Anakin Skywalker. And the Israelites think they are also the descendants through Sarah and Hagar and Isaac and Jacob and Esau and the Edomites, but they're not, because that means that there is a real Abraham, and there's not. So they've been fighting the Israelites, right? So what does that mean? In Irish, Israel is 3 Irish words. It comes from is, meaning spirit, right? So Isakrios, Yesakrios means the spirit and the seed, right? Isa. And then Ra is an Irish name for the sun, Isra. Now, like Bill Donahue and a lot of researchers tell you that El is the name for God, which it is. But when El comes at the end of a word instead of beginning or on its own, it means a messenger of. So an Israelite is a messenger of the spirit of the sun in the seed into man through the sun. So these are the good people. They are the good forces or higher nature in man struggling to overcome the opposition of the forces of Moab, right? The Moabite, which means the lower carnal nature. It's the same story over and over again, whether it's Adam and Eve, just all the way down. So that's the real meaning. And they've been telling the Arabs and Jews that they've been at each other's throats literally for 4,000 years, and it's an allegory. So this is where we're at today. Islam thinks they are the descendants of Abraham and Hagar, who's the night, and Judaism and Christianity think they're the descendants of Abraham and Sarah, who's the day. And they're each the chosen people, right? Well, you can't. So, and I won't even get into the meanings of all these things, right? This is how they got each other at each other's throats. They're telling the Jews they have a holy land in Israel, but Israel is not a place. It's spirit and son, a person who's a messenger of this, right? There is no historical Israel in the Middle East. It's just a dirt hole desert town that they've put there. And there's no Temple of Solomon buried beneath the Dome of the Rock, because the Temple of Solomon is made by Hiram Abiff, the Freemasons will tell you. Hiram, Aries, the ram or lamb of God in your head. And Abiff means the heavenly Father above, made without sound or hammer. Well, the Temple of Solomon is your body, made without sound or hammer. And when they show you the alleged ancient blueprints of Solomon's temple, it's a human body. See it on the left? It's a body. So it's the soul and the mind in the body. That's what it is. They're going to rebuild the third Solomon's temple. You are Solomon's temple, right? And that's what they've got them doing. They're going to con these Jews into knocking down this holy temple, which is going to start a holy war. And these two are going to take each other out for the ruling power. And here's the Dome of the Rock on the left. Here's the Adler Planetarium on the right in Chicago. Do you see they're identical, except one has a gold roof? So is that really on the left an ancient holy temple, or are these what people call Tartarian shit, right? Is it really? So this is the problem we have is they have all of the religious literalists believing they are the descendants of fictional allegorical names, Irish compound names of spiritual science, right? Abraham's the son, Adam and Eve are man and woman, Enosh, Seth, right? We already went through these. These aren't people. And then, Abraham had Jacob, who renamed his name. He became Israel, right? And Jesus is descended from all these other people and King David, but David is descended from all these fictions too. So these cannot be historical people. So who's doing this, right? This is from Michael Tsarian. So allegedly, it's these Scythians who helped Akhenaten. They get thrown out and they become these Setian Atnis. Now, Akhenaten, so the old name, Druidic name for the sun was Amun, right? The Christians in church say Amen at noon on Sunday, which is the sun at the high noon. But Aton or Aten is what Akhenaten called their new god, which is Lucifer, right? And Set is it's like the dark side of the light, if you know what I mean. To Horus and Set, it's supposed to be his twin brother, which means night. So what has been going on, according to my research, and I just took this from Michael Tsarian, is these people have been hiding behind various organizations, Freemasonry for starters, right? So a lot of people say it's the Freemasons, or Freemasons are the good guys, or Freemasons are the bad guys, right? Freemasonry is just Freemasonry used to be called PHRE Masonry, which is Irish for the sun. So the original Freemasons had the old Irish Druidic knowledge. So Freemasonry is just a tool of knowledge, right? It's like saying this red hammer is bad and this blue hammer is good. But they're not. You can knock your neighbor's head in, or you can, build a wall or tear one down. So Freemasonry is not bad or good, but these people are hiding in various branches of Freemasonry, right? Because it's a perfect place to hide. Just like they're hiding in Judaism, they're hiding in Christianity, Islam, they're hiding in Buddhism, they're hiding as Muslims. They hide behind all the religious shields and all the organizations, so we can't find them. So people are like, well, who's doing this and all that? It's like, it's a massive world business of these people. They're dark Luciferians and they're hiding in all of them, right? So you'll see a lot of these names on the left. I want this will take me too long, but I'll get into this in part 3, and I will send you this. So these are the organizations and a lot of the people they are hiding between. And the Knights Templar, we'll get into if we have time, they're doing what I call frenemies, right? The main scam they do is they keep telling us historically that the Knights Templar are the enemies of the Roman Catholic Church, and the Illuminati are the enemies of the royalty and the government, right? And the Protestants are the enemies of the Roman Catholic Church, and on it goes. But what they're doing is they're giving us these stories so we don't ever see they are totally working together, right? So as far as Masonry goes, it's been infiltrated by the Templar and their agents, and they did it in English Masonry and York Rite Masonry. That doesn't mean all the York Rite Masons are evil or bad, right? That most of them don't know what's going on until the higher level. In America, it's the Knights Templar of the Scottish Rite, De Molay, Knights of Columbus, loads of others, which I'll get into in part 3. In Europe, the Templars are the Jesuits. So the Jesuits are just Knights Templar. The Jesuits told the Roman Catholic Church to kick them out of the church. You've heard they got, like, the Jesuits got kicked out of the church for 40 years. It's because the Protestant movement, a lot of countries were going Protestant, and they hated the Jesuits and the Roman Catholic Church. So the Jesuits told the church to kick them out so that all the Protestant countries would go, oh, they don't like you either. Now you're with us. And then they start infiltrating. See how that works? Same with Martin Luther, which we'll get into. The same with the Knights Templar. They're like, oh, they burned us at the stake, and we did this and that. Yet the Knights Templar became the Knights of Malta. You'll see down here on the left, who are the banking faction for the Vatican, and the Swiss Malta Templars guard the Vatican as the Swiss guard. So you're like, oh, you're not buddies? You hate each other? This is the game they're playing. And here's a lot, but not all of the orders that they come from. But you'll notice they're always holy orders. They're knights. They're the Pilgrim Society, Order of the Garter. There's no Jewish shit here at all, but they put Jews in. Then they also figured out, so you get into what you call the black nobility, which are the papal families. Once commerce starts to take hold and they go to Venice, right? Venusians, Venus. That's Lucifer, right? Lucifer is a word for Venus, the morning light or the light. So then they start figuring out that our families will become the popes, and they figure out that if we start marrying into the royal families of Sweden, because they were having a fight called the Guelphs versus the Ghibellines, where there were certain royal families who they want control of their own patch, right? The Bernadottas want to control Sweden, and then certain families like the Guelphs want to take orders top down from the Pope and the Vatican. So these Venetian, like the black nobility families, who are the merchant families, they figure out, well, we'll just make our people the popes and the bishops by ourselves in, and then we'll start marrying into these families, right? And this is where you get your Rothschilds, who are Rockefellers, who are Orsini's. The Rothschild, the Orsini and Colonia black nobility families were fighting each other for 300 years. I think they called it the War of the Roses or something like that. They were made by the Vatican to marry into each other to stop this shit. And that's where we're getting Rothschilds and Rockefellers. They're these guys with new names. So here are like the main royal families you see. Here is just a chart of how did Queen Elizabeth and King Charles, because we don't have time to get into it, but the Order of the Garter and the Pilgrim Society give orders to what's called the Committee of 300. If you've read Dr. John Coleman's work, the Committee of 300 are passing orders down to all the think tanks, but they're getting them from these. And now King Charles and formerly Elizabeth are the heads. But what they're doing, if this is even real, and I have to say, they make up their history, right, of like who they're related to and stuff. So this is what we're told. But I circled and read all the ones who are married to each other and intermarried into their family line, see, of the royalty. And so if you look, you can see the alleged Windsors are married the most into the other families. I still, just like Charlemagne and Constantine, all those timelines are fake, and they seem to have the exact same, like, rulers going down. I don't even think these people's story are true, but I don't know. Now, these are the black nobility families, right? And again, you can see this in my movies and all that. But these are like the big
Is
black
that mafia, Steve? Is some of that mafia like?
Yeah, that's P2 Lodge coming out of Italy, right? The P2 Opus Dei. So this is the mafia they showed you in Godfather 2, right? Like Michael Corleone gets into the they put him in the Knights of Malta. He gets like put into the Knights of Malta, right? Who are taking orders from these guys here. So Islam, they're not on here. Pallavicini family runs Islam. Allah, right? And I'll show you, Allah is actually the female version of Dalat, Venus, in the ancient religion. Allah's not a guy. So these are like them. Then people say, well, aren't they the Collins, the Collins, Kennedys, Lee, Onassis, Bundy? Have you seen like the 13 Illuminati bloodlines people say rule the world? That's these. Colonna is Cologne, Christopher Columbus, colony. They become the Collins, right? It's the same families. They're the royal families. They're the Illuminati bloodlines. They're what they call the 300 families and subfamilies they claim you have to be part of to be in the Committee of 300. But these are the ones they come from. Henry Breakspear, I won't get into it, but He's out of Macau, China. He's behind the new Chinese One Belt, One Road initiative. It's the Breakspears. That's who's behind it. And all of these elites are moving east into Southeast Asia and Southeast Russia. You ever seen these weird cities, like Astana, and there's another one? Have you seen that? There's like these ghost cities that look like totally Illuminati, right? Like, and they're empty, right? It's because these guys are going to go there. That's where they're going to hide once they let us all go to shit and kill each other.
Is that why there's so many empty places in China then? You see thousands and thousands of these empty high-rise buildings and some loads and loads of empty places.
Right. Well, see what's going right. So you'll notice that what they call the Greater Israel Project, right? They're now they're like Israel's expanding right up into the Golan Heights, and now they're up in Lebanon and all that. When you look at the map for the One Belt, One Road initiative, there's a land thing. This is backwards, I reckon. There's a land thing from the west, and it going west to east, right? And then there's a sea one coming up where Israel is. So the land and the sea routes are going to meet right where we're calling Israel. All the drugs, human trafficking, minerals, you name it, the world's resources go through there. So that's why they're having the Greater Israel Project. They're trying to take that land and have everyone, the Jews and the Arabs, kill each other there for this holy war so that they can rebuild. And because that's going to be the hub where all the modern trade comes, and they're going to be running it, right? I won't even really get into this, but this is the Black Pope now, Arturo Sosa. See, we are not under Talmudic law. We're under international maritime admiralty law, which is based on Vatican canon law, not Talmudic, right? And the Black Pope, he's a Jesuit head, he's the Jesuit director in general, but he's subservient to these down at the bottom, these Black nobility families. And now the white popes, as the last two, have been Francis and now Leo. They got Jesuit white popes and Black popes. Right. And in my movie, I showed how they said once they get Jesuit white popes, there will always be. So this is where we're getting the Knights Templar and the Venetians, the Black nobility family. They are the Yale Skull and Bones. They're the pirates who all settled in Venice and made the trade routes and all that. And this is where this admiralty law comes from. The Knights Templar also went into Switzerland, became the Knights of Malta. Then they became the Knights of St. John, who went to Sweden, which is why Sweden is always neutral in every war. Oh, and so is Switzerland. They don't shit in their backyard because it's them, right? So this is how they're doing it. We're not under Talmudic law. You don't swear in a Talmud in the court. You swear in a Bible. And this is what they're doing, right? I won't get into this, but we're under Lex Mercatoria, the merchant law. But people keep saying that we're in this pyramid, like, David Icke and all these people say we're in a pyramid structure and there's this unknown entity at the top, or probably from an extra dimensional alien, what people with no address, just like the ancient pharaohs did, and even the ancient caste system in India. But the caste system had the priests and the nobles at the top, not the pharaoh. But then on it goes down like this. What I'm proposing is we don't live in this. We live in, think of the world as a corporation, a giant business, right? There's the board of directors. Later, you get the president, right? But you can change him and anyone else. So you got the board of directors, then the president, then you've got all the workers and all this shit down. So everyone's like, give me the names of all the people at the top of who's running the world. Let's kill them and arrest them. Those aren't the same names who were here 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 200 years ago, or will be here 30 years from now, right? The people are going to change. It's the system that they built that is the problem. We need to understand that it's not this pyramid. Because if we think it's a pyramid and we can just go kill the top, that's not going to do anything. We think the Jews are in charge and kill the Jews. It's not going to happen. One of the other branches in the business will take over the responsibility, right? And create a vacuum. So that's what I'm trying to show people. We are not really against people. We're against a system that keeps replacing its people. That's what we really need to understand. Yeah. So all people say, oh, it's the Jews. Now people don't know Switzerland, they kicked all the Jews out, and then there was 500 Jews left in 1720 or something like that. And they sent them all to two towns in Switzerland. And then in 1802, they took all their rights away, and then the Swiss people invaded those Jewish towns, and they had no rights. Then suddenly we're told that all of the World Economic Forum, Davos, right? Bank for International Settlements, United Nations, World Trade, go down the list. All of the New World Order shit is in Switzerland. And we're told, like, how did the Jews, if they run the world, how did they build all this shit in Switzerland? They didn't even let the Jews in. They had the Jay affair during World War II, where have you ever heard of the Jay affair? They told the Nazis to put J's on Jews' passports so they couldn't come in. And you're like, during all this, they set up all these New World Order things, right? World Council of Churches, Internet of Things. Like, it's like, no. And the same with the Bolsheviks, right? So they use Jews, they put them in charge, they use them. But once the Bolshevik happened, I'm not saying the Jews didn't do this, they did, they totally did. But once they overthrew the Tsar of Russia, of the 17 members of the council that they put in charge, there was only one Jew. Oops, sorry, hang on, where'd I go? Right, so people are going, is the U.S. is not, they're like, is the U.S. is Israel's bitch, right? They're like, Netanyahu controls. They don't. The Templar faction behind the Jesuits, black nobility, all of the top corporate powers we're talking about, they're controlling all this through Jesuits, Templar, Freemasonry, on and on it goes. The list I showed, they're telling everyone where it's going, and they're using AIPAC as a front. So we blame the Jews, right? They keep doing this because they're all under control. Where the money moves is through the banking. And the banking is run by the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, the Knights of Malta, and that's being directed from the Pilgrim Society and the Order of the Garter, who used to be Elizabeth, now it's Sausage Finger Charles as the head. But this is to make us look like this is going on, right? They're trying to blame two people who are just players. And you say, well, who created AIPAC? And it was this guy, Leo Keenan. You notice AIPAC has 5 letters. Venus is the pentagram, 5. And you'll see 2 pentagrams hidden in the logo. The colors didn't go good, but there's a yellow and a green one. Then there's 5 5-pointed stars, 5, right? So it was started by his father, Emmanuel Keenan, who started the first B'nai Zion Club in Toronto. And he was a key member of the World Zionist Congress. But here's the deal, right? They're telling us that the Jew, Theodor Herzl on the left, and Max Nordau started Zionism, but it's not. Zionism was started in 1830 already. Out of every Zionist, if out of 30 Zionists, 1 is Jewish and 29 are Christian. Christian Zionism is the dominant form of Zionism. But we're told that these 2 Jews started it, but it's open knowledge that Theodor Herzl, the Jew who's claimed to have started this, his mentor was William Heckler. That was his companion and mentor. Well, down here, he was a Christian minister who supported the Jewish state, and he wanted to be the Anglican bishop of Jerusalem. And he's the mentor of this Jew, right? And the same with Max Nordau. Now, the other guy who was in charge of really setting this up was Henry Dunant. And they don't tell you about him. He was a Swiss Calvinist, Scottish Rite Master Mason, 1849. He started the Red Cross. And so you have to ask, why was the first Zionist Congress in 1897 held in Templar Basel, Switzerland, that doesn't like Jews, that kicks them all out, they have no rights? It's because Henry Dunant is a Swiss Templar. That's why they put it there. That's how they were allowed. And Anglicans, they are like, they're Protestant and Catholic. They're like a combination of both, which you can't do. They're supposed to be like opposed to each other, right? So the Jesuits and the church have set up these new religions that are supposed to bring them back together again. So this is what's going on. They always stick some Jews out in front so you don't look who's behind. Same in the U.S., right? I'll go through, but the US Senate and Congress don't make laws. There's a congressional committee that makes all the laws behind doors, and they have to give all the budget and funding. I look through all of these, and there is not a single Jew on any of the board of directors or heading it, and only found 3 in all of them. So they couldn't give Israel money if they wanted. They can even override presidential executive orders, right? So Trump couldn't give Netanyahu money unless these guys did it. Right. And then I won't get into it, but there's barely any Jews who have ever even been in Congress or Senate or anything like that. And the 2 guys who recently have run the budget committee who would be able to give Israel money was Christian Episcopal Jesuit Lindsey Graham. I think he just died, didn't he? And Sheldon Whitehouse. Before that was actually Bernie Sanders. So there was a Jew in there a couple ago. So that's all bullshit. So Israel, AIPAC, and the Jews don't control the U.S. These guys do, the real tiny hats. The yarmulke is not Jewish, it's Roman. And the Pope made the Jews learn to wear it and accept it as, submission and subversion to them. And you always see all the Jews are out there in Israel saying Judaism is not Zionism. And that's because it's not. The Christians made it. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this is not a Jewish thing or conspiracy. And the Jews are trying to tell us that. And we're saying, oh, it's Chabad on the left. Well, there's Chabad's headquarters on the left, and there's the Vatican. Which one looks like they are gaining from all the money in the world, right? Which one of those looks like they run the world banking? Right? Everyone can see on the left, that's propaganda, but we see all these pictures here with the hook-nosed Jews. That's not propaganda, right? You don't think if the Jews were in charge, you think they'd let that shit all over the internet? Right? I'm not going to get into this, but so the Masons are involved. There's the tiny hat, the Pope on the left, Jesuit Pope, giving the Master Mason grip to Queen Elizabeth, a Dame of Malta, and the head of the Order of the Garter, right? So it's not the Masons, it's that these cunts are all hiding in Masonry as well. You all saw the video. Have you seen the video of Queen Elizabeth getting inducted into the High Council of Druids out in the woods? Have you ever seen that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what's she doing in that? Well, it's because these sorcerers, these Scythians, they're druidic, but they're not like the good druids we're talking about in the old days. They are running the world. That's why the world leaders are out in Bohemian Grove around Moloch, which is the druidic owl of wisdom. And that owl is Minerva's owl, who is Venus. The owl of wisdom can see in the dark, right? It can see all things, and it's Venus's owl. That's what they're doing around a burning effigy there. That's why the owl's on our money and the dollar bill in America, right? And then Hollywood, we know all the Jews are out front in Hollywood, but why isn't it Goldstein, Bergstein, Wood? And as I got into the movie, the Vatican said through Inter Morifica and Miranda Prosus, they said in the 60s that they have the right to own all media, all journalism, all Hollywood, all television, all movies. The Vatican said they have the divine right to own all of it, right? Rothschilds I won't get into, but they're always wearing Knights of Malta, Knights Templar crosses. They're never wearing Jewish stuff, right? And that's because they are Orsini's, and they come from the Orsinis and the Colonia, or the Collins, if you want to call it that. They are what you call fake Jews. So people are right when they say the false Jews, right? Or you could call them the Hofjuden or Courtjuden. These people aren't Jewish, but they pretend to be, because that's how it gets other Jews to join up, because they think their Jews are running it. They're just not. Like, it's not happening. Then we're told, like, well, Vanguard and BlackRock and State Street run the world, right? We've all seen all the world businesses are run. But here you can see there's no Jews. Vanguard was started by a Protestant Episcopalian Vogel. Brennan was a Roman Catholic Christian. McNabb III was Ivy League Christian. The current CEO, Mortimer J. Buckley, he's Roman Catholic, Jesuit, all of them, right? So BlackRock was started by Larry Fink and a couple others, but it's run by Philip Hildebrand, who is a Swiss Knights Templar banker and has been running it since 2012. He's the former chairman of the board of Swiss National Bank, the governor of the International Monetary Fund, director of the Bank of International Settlements. So who do you think's really running BlackRock? Because Larry Fink, his first job with, I think it was Boston National, he lost his investors 120 million because he was incorrect about future interest rates. So he got fired. Then you're like, then he goes on to start the world's biggest investment firm. Who would invest with Larry Fink after he did that? You know what I mean? So you're like, who's behind that, really? And State Street's supposed to own the world, and it's all Irish. You can see on the left, there's not a Jew anywhere in there. There's totally not. So that's not true. So, how we doing time wise? Am I running?
You keep going, mate. You just keep going.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't know how long we're gonna go, but so you shall know them by their fruits, but you shall know them by their symbols, right? So, Set is Apophis, is Apet. This is Venus. This is Lucifer. There are lots of different names for this goddess worship, and you'll notice that the Knights Templar all dress like women. Have you noticed the Pope and the bishops and cardinals? They wear dresses, right? They dress like ladies. The Freemasons are called the widow's sons, so they're women worshipers, right? So this is all goddess worship. People think that there's a patriarchy. No, it's not. This is all goddess worship, and there are women who are behind the scenes running this. Like I know, like it ruins it for a lot of women, but it looks like a patriarchy. It's totally not. But anyway, so here you can see Set, Apophis, Apet. That's the dragon court, the Serpentine Sisterhood, cult of Venus. Some call it female Illuminati. Queen Beatrix was the matriarch of the Black nobility of the Netherlands, and Elizabeth was the head of the Garter. So if you're looking at corporate logos, like how do you identify these guys? Look for green, gold, green, brown, green, gold, brown. Look for this color scheme, right? So there's Starbucks, and people say that's a mermaid. It's not. She's got the 5-pointed star of Venus, and she's got green and white. That's Venus. It's not a mermaid. Right? Or you'll see this. If you guys go around in England, you'll see this all over old buildings. Have you ever seen like a lion and then a unicorn next to it in a chain? You ever see this shit here?
Yeah.
Right. So the lion is Akhenaten. He's Aten. He's like the sun god, sort of. So these people are allegedly the descendants of Akhenaten, or their cult anyway, the Atenists. So when I say they're Setian Atenists, Aten was the god that Akhenaten brought in, right? So when I'm saying that's them, it's this cult. So the unicorn is a loyal servant of this cult. But if there's a chain, it means they're a bitch. It means they're not high up, right? You know what I'm saying? Pardon my French. And it shows subservience and punishment for disobedience. The Garter refers to the sisterhood Venus, and that comes from the Knights Templar. They used to actually castrate their balls, like castrate themselves, and then they'd put on a garter to show subservience to the cult, right? So you can see on the Rothschild coat of arm here, you see how on the right, see how the Rothschild unicorn is not chained? So that shows you that they are not a bitch. They are a big player because, as I said, they are Orsini's and Collins, right? So you'll start seeing on different buildings, you'll start seeing like who's a bitch and who's not in that building. And you see the garter on the left, see how there's a garter around the crest? And see how the chained unicorn has a chain, and then there's a garter on that crest down there, the belt. Chat. That shows you this is a bitch crest right here, right down the right. The arrows are neath. I'll show you which I'll get into that. The Illuminati were called the Order of the Bees. Now, who runs the beehive? Queen, right? Not men, not dudes, Queen. And this was a key Knights Templar Royal and Masonic symbol representing the Dragon Court, the Order of Sion, which is an Irish word, Zion, meaning the heavens and Venus. And then who's the Netherlands? What's her name? Queen Beatrix, the matriarch of the Black nobility, right? What are the odds her name is Beatrix, right? They're just taking the fucking piss out of us. You know what I mean? So here's the Great Seal of the United States. Our forefathers went over to America and they hated this is all bullshit, more frenemies. You'll see in the stars above on the left, see the two pentagrams, right side up and inside out in the stars. That's for Venus. You'll see the evening star. Then you'll see the 9 tail feathers are for the original Knights Templar founders. And 9 is also the mystic number for consciousness, either lower or higher. So whenever you see 9 in the Bible or 666, right? 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18. 1 plus 8 is 9. That's talking about lower consciousness, Cain. Or you see 144,000 will be saved, right? That's 1 plus 4 is 9. That's higher consciousness. Or Jesus fed everyone with 150, or, Jesus said, cast your net to the right and you'll catch 153 fish. That's 9. 5 plus 3 plus 1. So they're always talking about consciousness. And here the eagle has us in its claws. They have our consciousness. So, but they also say that the 2 branches, when you see the 2 olive branches, that's the Knights Templar, and then they're clerical Cistercians who weren't the fighters, but they are the actual money people behind the Templar banking. The arrows are Scythian and Neith, who's the war goddess, and she's the creator goddess and goddess of arrows. The eagle always represents a lot of things. One is elite and nobility. The double eagle can represent rule over East and West together, but it can also, in the Masonic way, mean consciousness over your past and present, right? He who can control not getting caught in the past and present can control being in the moment and manifestation. So here's the Jesuits. They've got the Knights Templar cross over the H and the 4 hidden in Venus. So see in their logos, there's a bunch of pentagrams hidden in there on the left. So they've got the pentagrams inverted and exverted. And then here's a Jesuit one on the right. So they have the horseshoe. So the Knights Templar, there's always 2 poor knights on a horse, right? Whore of Babylon. It's a joke for like the whores. They're the whores of Babylon. They've got the Knights Templar cross. They've got the shield. And remember, I told you the colors are green, white, and gold, brown, right? So that shield just tells you everything. They've got all that shit in there. Here's Neith. She's the goddess of arrows. She's on the Rothschild Foundation logo, right? Here's the coronation orb. Have you ever seen that orb, that ball? So like Martin Liedtke, a lot of people think that that's an ancient energy device. Have you guys ever heard something like that?
Yeah.
Right. But it's just it's Venus inverted. You see, it's just the sign of Venus inverted. So it's showing you who is in charge. And even on the left, if you see the queen, the arrow of the Venus is pointed up to a 5-pointed pentagram on her sleeve. See my mouse here? So they hid that one in there too. I don't think it's an energy device. I think it's a symbol for who's in charge. So then we got the Rose Cross. So Venus, there's a myth that she had a son and who was her boy lover. Like she was a pedo, incestuous pedo who was screwing her boy lover Adonis, right? So the Rose Cross is a symbol for Venus and the cult of Venus used by the Rosicrucians, Knights Templar, and the Venusians from the myth of the spilled blood of Venus's sacrifice of her son lover Adonis. And it's also the Druidic rose thorns of the crown of Yesa Krios. Remember in the beginning, I told you the Druidic Yesa has a rose crown. And then there's the ritual phallic castration central to Masonic tradition and ceremony in the Druidic vow of celibacy, as I told you. So they have to take a celibacy to the cult. Compass is Scottish Rite Freemasonry, which is Knights Templar and Rosicrucian. The crown, as I showed you, just like the lion, represents the chief Atenist, Akhenaten, and his descendants. And then the red papacy, or the lefty papacy, or like you'd call it the Cardinals, the College of Cardinals, they wear the red dresses and the Templar long hair and the Masonic aprons, which is, again, all female motif. So a lot of people say, well, the Jews, Henry Kissinger was I can't pronounce this. Somebody correct me, B'nai B'rith. Do you know what that is? So B'nai B'rith is supposed to be a Jewish like secret society or whatever, and Kissinger was one, and lots of them. This is the statue that B'nai B'rith gave to the United States of America as the centennial anniversary for the American independence against Britain. But that was fomented by the Knights Templar and the Jesuits. Like, that was all totally set up. But, and it says the Order of B'nai B'rith and the Israelites of America. But look who's on top. It's Venus with the eagle and her boy lover, Adonis, on her left. See that? They put it right on there. There's Venus and her boy lover, Adonis. So they're showing you what's going on. Martin Luther, he has had enough. So this is pre-Jesuits. We're told that the Jesuits get created because of Martin Luther and the Protestants break away from Catholicism, right? So we're told the Jesuits' job is to either kill the Protestants or bring them back with Catholicism. This guy walks up to a church in Germany, nails his whatever 94, how many 97 thesis, whatever it is, you know, he nails some paper on the door, pre-internet, pre-news. And then instead of just tearing it down and throwing him in the dungeon and killing him, it's like it spreads all over the world. Like he starts Protestantism, right? And then they say that on his way to be imprisoned, his buddy was Frederick III, not from the 1800s, who was the candidate to become the Holy Roman Emperor, and he was a diehard Catholic. He sends some bandits to kidnap him and hides him in his palace. And then he writes the Bible in English and in other languages, and then the printing press prints it out and passes it out to everyone, right? This is more frenemy shit. But really, it's because people were getting sick of the Roman Catholic Church and all this bullshit, right? So they were leaving Christianity in droves. And so his job was to make it so, oh, you can now read the Bible, right? As long as you're still a Christian, we don't care if you're Catholic. We'll get you later, right? And he also, because of him, priests could get married and have sex and all that shit. His wife was a royal who had 20 massive properties. But look at his logo on the left, right? You can see the logo. I don't have my weird thing in the way. Can you see the white flowers of their pentagram right side up? Can you see the 5 flowers?
Yeah.
And then can you see the vines going down? That's an inverted pentagram. Can you see that? And then he's got a red Templar cross and a Rosicrucian heart in the middle. So they still show you on all their shit, like what's going on. So these flags, a lot of people think the crescent moon is the moon, but Venus has a crescent face. So Venus is the morning star, or Lucifer, because it comes up in the morning before the sun, and then it's the last visible daytime star right as the sun goes down, right? It's the only star you see in the day sky. So the crescent is really Venus, and the pentagram is always Venus. So it's the morning star, also called Lucifer or Shekinah. And we already talked about green and white are the goddess, like Starbuck. And Allah was originally Allah. That's what I was talking about, the Palavachinis, which was the pre-Islamic Arabian goddess, who's Athena, Minerva, Neith, right? And also Venus. And funny enough, the Globies, who are fucking retards, they told us that the planet Venus has a hypothetical moon that they found, and they named it Neith. They said that Venus has a moon called Neith. You know, do you think that's an accident? And look at the communist flag and the Antifa and all that shit, right? This lets you know who's behind all this shit, who's behind Islam, who's behind all this communist shit, China. All you got to do is know these symbols, and you'll know what the fuck's going on here, right? So here's the Shriners. I don't know if you've ever heard about the Shriners. Yeah. One of the kids, one of the sons of one of the head Shriners was a whistleblower who said all the child trafficking shit is happening from the Shriners in Arizona in some weird island, right? So let's look at the symbol. That's the see first the colors, right? So we have the gold, green, white, brownish gold. So now you know. And then you've got the scimitar, which is the castration of the Templars. You've got Akhenaten literally sitting in the middle, and then you've got a Venus crescent moon and a 5-pointed star. See that? So now you know who's behind the Shriners. It doesn't mean all the Shriners are in on this, but it shows you who's who. And as I showed you, here's the Venus phase of the year, right? So Venus does have a crescent phase. So we're told the Knights Templar were burned at the stake as heretics because the Catholic Church said they started worshiping the Baphomet. Have you heard that story? Okay. But see, the Baphomet it's an alchemical symbol. Do you see fire on the head? Then you have air on the wings. Then you have water in the middle, fish gills, and he's sitting on Earth. And he has as above, so below, with the moon crescent of Venus morning in the morning and the night. And he's got the Venus pentagram on top. He's got the goat head of Mendes on top, right? Aries. So they were not worshiping this, right? And it's got solve and coagula, which are two alchemical formulas. So this is, again, all these cover stories. They're trying to tell us the Knights Templar are enemies of the Vatican, but yet they're their fucking bankers. My friend Felix works at the Jesuit London Oratory, and the Knights Templar just held their St. John's celebration to, I don't know, about 3 weeks ago at the Jesuit Oratory. You're like, what? So again, they keep telling you this shit, and the Knights Templar, the modern head of the Knights Templar, has come out and said their secret is they have the real bloodline of Jesus Christ, and he took it to, England and America, but he's just perpetrating the myth that Jesus is not Jesus Christ in the Son and Spirit. This is all they're doing, is pretending that the church hates them because they really have the hidden bloodline. And really, it's all bullshit. The people are playing frenemies on us, right? So these are like symbols that you need to know. This is who's running the shit. There's the black nobility crest, and you got the double eagle, which we said, like, ruling the East and the West and the past and present. And here's all the flags over here, and Jesus in the middle on the left, right? One crest to rule them all. And it is the same symbol as the Holy Roman Empire, if that's even real. I still question the history of Rome, right? So a lot of people, this is the last slide, then we can do questions. A lot of people say that Albert Pike did not write this letter to Mazzini. Have you seen this 3 World War letter before?
Yeah.
Right. So it was written on August 15th, 1873 or something like that. August 15th is the day the Jesuits were formed. Right. Just by coincidence, though. And people are saying, no, it's a fake letter that never was in the British Museum. Other people say it was written by a Jesuit, the Jesuit black Pope in the 50s. It might have been. Well, others just say it's totally fake. But when you read this, it tells you what they're doing by what we got to in the beginning, right? They're making all the literalists try to kill each other and shit so they can bring in this one world Luciferian religion, order, government. The Pope has now come out with this coexist. Have you seen any of this shit where the new logo is coexist? And it's got like a pentagram and a Buddhist star. It's got all the logos, and the Pope's now like, yeah, Jews are welcome, gays are welcome, everybody's a Catholic, right? You're like, what? Protestants, everyone's a Catholic, because they are going to take down Catholicism. They are going to take this down. But this tells you what they're going to do, right? Now, people say, well, how? It's going to be fomented by taking advantages between the differences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and leaders of the Islamic world. But people say, well, there was no Zionists in 1873. But see, Zionism, like I said, has been around since 1820 and 30. Christian Zionism was around way before this. So that's how they would know. The Illuminati are just Knights Templar branch, right? So when they say, well, how could they know this? It's like, because this shit could have been planned way before this letter, if this letter is even real, where they mutually destroy each other, which we're going to see now. We're going to see it. Now, all the other nations, now we're seeing Black Lives Matter, Antifa, the rainbow, the far right, right? We're seeing all the revolutionaries are going to fight each other to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion, we're going to unleash the nihilists and the atheists and make a social cataclysm, which is going to show the absolute effect of atheism, origin of savagery, and bloody turmoil. Remember, Kissinger said, like, right now, people would be upset if UN troops were flooded the streets of Los Angeles, but in 20 years from now, they'll be begging us, as long as there's an external threat or the perception of one, right? This is why they're bringing in all the brown people. They're not going to let Islam take over Europe and America and shit. They just want them to cause enough shit where we go, please do something about them. They're like, yep, they're going to get them, right? And this is what they're telling you. This letter is laying out everything that's going on right now, if you know what the plan is and what they're up to, right? And I'm just going to stop it there and leave it at that. Yeah, I'll stop sharing.
Wow. Wow. Steve. Wow. That was deep. We have some Christians in the audience. So
and I just want to say, yeah, and I just want to say this, right? If you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, or whatever, right? I have nothing against like any religious literalists, and I am the first to say that the holy books still have the encoded wisdom and knowledge. They are sacred books, right? That's all I want to say is that I'm not against the books. And a lot of people say, oh, well, the Jews somehow they've gotten into the Bible and changed everything around, right? But Marty Leeds, do you guys follow Marty Leeds, Gnostic Academy?
Yeah,
anyone?
Some do, yeah.
Okay, so Marty Leeds uses this thing called septenary gematria cipher. Have you seen this? How he's decoding the modern Bible?
Yeah.
Well, there is a J, as a letter J, smack dab in the middle of his septenary code, which means every letter after and the J would be thrown off if there was no J. In other words, the people who have written the new modern English version of the Bible in languages and have called him Jesus, they have still, as Marty showed, the Kabbalistic sacred knowledge is still in the modern scriptures. Now, why would the Jews leave that in, right? If the Jews are like, oh, we're going to doctor the Bible so you don't see it, why would they leave all the knowledge in there? So what I'm saying is I am not against religious people. I am not against the books. I think the Bible is still the greatest, like, esoteric book we have, spiritual manual, I think, right? And what I'm not against it. What I'm trying to warn people of is religious literalism without decoding and having the knowledge. And I understand, because the reason all the numerology and the mysticism is in there is this book teaches you psychology, control. If this gets in the wrong hands, which it has, they can use it for dark magic and black sorcery, right? Which is exactly what's going on. So I'm trying to warn people, if you take this shit literally and start going and thinking you're going to murder a bunch of Muslims for your holy land, knock down a temple, we're going to be in like really big trouble. I'll just leave it at that. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing knowledge, to be fair. It's going to really... There's a lot of, we have a few Christians in the room, we have a few, not literalists, but perhaps not understanding the Bible and literary works like that in the way that you portray. It's amazing knowledge. I've got a question, Steve.
Yeah.
So what, in, I don't know, whatever, in the Bible, is Jesus the light bringer? Is it all because it's to do with the stars? It's an allegory that Jesus brings light and everything else. But do the Freemasons not, they really, really support that, don't they? The light bringing, that's their thing. Lucifer is their deity of worship, but it's the same as Jesus, it's the same as all the others, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's a lot of confusion about that. There's a lot of people who say Jesus is really Lucifer because he is the morning light, right? Jesus says, I am the light, I am the way.
Yeah.
And people go, that's Lucifer and all that, right? So when I talked about Templar infiltration into Masonic lodges, one of the things they've done is they've tried to say that the snake is the Garden of Eden, that Adam and Eve were real, and the snake was on our side, right? God was terrible and hated us. And then the snake said, oh man, knowledge is the highest thing. That's not in the old Irish Masonic teaching at all. They understood this was total allegory. So that's one of the things they're doing. Jesus says, I am the light of the world. I am the way. And the way, like I said, is the name of the old Druidic religion, which you could call what Marty's teaching, Gnostic Christianity, right? So the Jesus character is saying, I am the light, I am the way. In other words, be like me. It's not hard. Like what Jesus does in the Bible, if we all were like that, we wouldn't be in trouble. You know what I mean? So what they're hiding is they're trying to tell you that only that guy Jesus 2,000 years ago was the only time ever that God Almighty incarnated as himself, the one and only, right? And had all the magic powers, even though he keeps saying in the Bible, don't you understand all of this I can do, you can do, and more, right? That's a weird thing for the one and only God to say about himself incarnated, that you're more powerful than him. And this is their control mechanism. If you understand, that's a lot why they genocided a lot of the natives, because these Irish Druids had already been in the Americas way before. They knew Yesa Krios. They had big Celtic crosses all over. They knew sun worship. They knew everything. So that's one of their whole scam goes away. And they know it's going down. That's why they're going to get rid of Christianity now, because they know the gig is pretty much up. Like if you look around, and are there any atheists in the crowd? We all believe in God.
Are you
right?
an atheist? Are you
no,
an atheist? Really?
I'm not. I'm not holding
the crowd.
No, I'm not holding my hand up. I'm just asking, are there any?
Yeah, we do have one that's admitted to it. Yeah.
Okay, which is totally cool, right?
No, we're gonna throw her out.
Yeah. yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like their gig is up because all the cash was indulgences, right? Like you could pay the Pope, because until Jesus comes back, the Pope is the vicar of Christ, which means substitute. And so you could sin all you want and you just pay him. And then you get, oh, you're forgiven, say 3 Hail Marys. You come into the confession booth, right? That was the big scam. That's the big secret they've been hiding, why they didn't tell you the Irish names, because people would have figured this out. In fact, I have a friend who I used to work with. She is one of the last 2% of Irish who can speak old Irish Gaelic, not Gaelic. And she asked me, she said, how do you know this, Steve? And I said, how do you know this? And she said, I speak Irish. This is totally obvious. Just like that Bible society I was telling you about, where the Irish peasants wanted the Hebrew version. So that's one of the reasons they were doing this, is they don't want us to know that these are spiritual allegories. That's my contention.
It's really deep. It's really powerful. It's very powerful what you're saying. It's particularly as we have some Christians in here who do, I guess, believe that Jesus is coming back. I think we all want that sort of rescue, that sort of saviour. But for the whole thing to be an allegory of stars and consciousness is, I suppose it does make a lot more sense. Do we have any closing questions? Because you can see some of the faces in here. It's like, oh, no.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pass you over to my friend Addy here, who is a former ex-NASA scientist, by the way.
Who's that?
He's our speaker next week. Hold on, next month.
Hi. A very nice talk. Thank you so much. I think my question is, what do you think is the point of all this? I mean, who wakes up in the morning and says, I just need to take over the world to make everybody into slaves for me? Like, what is their goal?
What is the motivation?
What's their goal?
Of the new world order, you mean?
Yes, because we see now the digital ID thing coming up, and digital prison, digitization, and so on. It looks like they're kind of running out of time, but what is their goal? Because I don't think their goal is in the material.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I'm having trouble hearing you, but I think I get. You want to know what's the point of all this and what's up with this digital shit, right?
He did say that. What is the point of the digital thing? What's the whole real point of it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So,
The ultimate goal, not just the control element.
right.
So,
Alex, first of all, the real meaning of a pentagram, right? It's not Satan. Like I said, there's a positive and a negative. The pentagram is showing you how creation works. I'm talking about all of us making a piece of toast or putting our shoes on in the morning, right? In the original teachings, all creation manifests from the God mind. It all comes from spirit. Then it goes down here into the will, and it's earth, fire, air, earth, water, right? Goes into desire, then it goes into the manifestation, and then the physical outcome. What they're doing is flipping the pentagram upside down, where will, instead of it going from spirit, creator, God, source to will, and then over around the body, it puts will and body on top. Do as thou will shall be the whole of the law, right? Crawley said. That's Satanism. They don't put spirit as the source. So in the Masonic real teachings, the one Godhead, we're all the one God separated into everything, having an experience, right? That's being watched over by the God watching itself. What they're doing is they're building AI and I, an all-seeing I. They're trying to replace the real God spirit, which watches over everyone, if that's your belief, with a computer one in all of our phones, computers, right there. It's uploading all our shit in data centers that they're going to have access to. So they, instead of them thinking that they are God's sparks, that we're all divine, right? They're trying to be our actual gods on earth. That is the Masonic goal. They, not all the Masons, but their goal is to be our gods, because they think we're all fucking stupid because we believe all this superstitious shit. You know, and you're like, I get it, but that is the goal. And I think it's very possible, and I couldn't know this. There are some that say they know that they're not getting out of here after they're not going to have their 7 incarnations. You know what we talked about in the beginning? They know that the shit they do, they're not getting out of here. So there's talk that they're trying to rule the roost. They actually believe through like sex and magic, like Moonchild. You ever heard like they're doing sex rituals to make, they say Crowley's daughter was Barbara Bush or which one, you know. There's talk that there's talk that they somehow have a technology to bring themselves back into their family, like this family again, through bloodlines and stuff, through sex ritual. So like I can't say this, but it's possible that they think, well, we're not getting out of here, so we might as well rule this shit while we're here. That's one theory. I don't know. I'd be interested to hear what you guys think. But they.
What do you think, Addy? What do you actually think? Do you have a comment on why you think it's happening like this and what the end game is?
Well, there will be a whole presentation.
He's presenting next month. He's got a new book out, Steve. So
you got a book. Oh, great! Yeah.
He's going to give you his reason. Any more questions, guys, before we wrap this up? Anything coming out? No. Right, Steve, we're going to have to love you and leave you there, my friend.
Thank you so much, and thanks so much for listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for the wonderful Steve Falconer.
And as I said, don't believe a word I just said, right? Watch my films. I give all the references, right? Christians, whatever, take what I just said as a massive grain of salt, and I'm not claiming all of it's true. This is, again, my 20-some years of research put together in a very too quick version of what I think is going on, right? So I'm open to criticism, challenge, but I just ask you to be open-minded, hear what I say, think about it. And I just thank you all. It's an honor to come and speak with you. I wish I was there in real life. That would have been awesome.
Steve, thank you so much, mate. You're really superb, and we all love you. And we'll all see you next month. And we're going to bring loads of Christians just to come.
I will be at the Guru gathering. So if who's coming to Guru?
Yeah, we're all.
All right. Okay. All right. Bring your book then. All right. I'm going to shoot out, man. Thank you very much, you guys.
Steve, are you playing over there? Are you doing?
I'm doing one song during the real Guru thing. Yeah. And then I think I might be doing some jamming in the wraparound. I don't know. I'm doing one with that. Yeah, for sure.
Looking forward to it, Steve. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, give it up for Steve Falconer.
All right.
I'll see you soon. Thank you, mate. God bless.
I'll get out of here so you can talk about me behind my back.
See you, mate.
All right, see you, man.
Cheers, Steve. Bye-bye. Well, that was good. That was pretty decent, wasn't it? Stop recording. Stop.